So I submitted a pretty diverse array of stories for the Victor Cohn Prize, ranging from the abstruse topic of gene drive, which is an even more abstruse sort of subset of genome editing, to a story about how a for-profit chain of cancer hospitals is cooking the books in terms of the success that they report. But in all the cases, I was looking for stories that were a little bit different from what readers might expect. You know, you always want to keep people reading, so if you can hook them at the beginning and tell them something that makes them think, huh, that's kind of not how I thought things worked, you know, you of course hope that they keep reading at least toward the end.
This story was twofold. The first part was looking at the research of two scientists in West Texas who had discovered that the DNA of antibiotic-resistant bacteria was blowing off of cattle feed yards on the wind. The second part of the story was basically looking at the industry response to that finding, which included meetings between representatives of the cattle industry and the scientists themselves, and meetings between these representatives and the higher-ups at the university where these researchers worked. And it became a story more generally about the politics that surround science and research coming out of public universities, the role that the media plays in this process, and what happens when a big and rather powerful industry like the cattle industry in Texas finds itself on the defensive and in the middle of an important question of public health.
I am a producer and a director. My program is called Approaching Science. This program is started to broadcasted from 1998. It has produced more than 4,500 science videos, and it has broadcasted for more than 2,000 hours. This program covered all aspects of the field of science.
The topic of my film tackles the mind-bending idea that there could be many versions of us out there somewhere in the cosmos. It essentially looks at how unique we are, and in the film I go on a hunt to try and find my cosmic twin to see if she's out there somewhere.
My book is The Dragon Behind the Glass, a true story of power, obsession, and the world's most coveted fish. It's about the Asian arowana, also known as the dragonfish. You can see it here. A primitive freshwater fish from Southeast Asia that's highly prized in the aquarium trade. So much so that collectors have supposedly spent more than $100,000 on a single specimen and even committed murder just to obtain one.
Well, I won the prize for 4 different stories that are on pretty different topics, ranging from taste loss after cancer treatment to collecting disease-transmitting bugs in cattle country in Texas. But one in particular that I really loved was about the folks who are convinced to have a psychological condition that means they're convinced they're being attacked by insects, and so they seek out the help of entomologists.
The story was about the mysteries of anesthesia, the fact that although it's something very common and usually safe, scientists don't know the mechanisms that occur during anesthesia in the brain yet, because they don't know exactly what consciousness is.
Well, the story really found me. I grew up in Hampton, Virginia. My dad is a NASA Langley research scientist, and I grew up in this community where a lot of people were scientists, engineers, and mathematicians. I think in a lot of ways I was looking for my own origin story and for the origin story of the community that I grew up in, and also of a lot of parts of the American 20th century.